Well, there's a floor underneath this vinyl. We don't really know what we're even getting into, but we got a lot to do. So let's run through this job start to finish. So a quick little walkthrough on this entire job. So everything downstairs has vinyl and plywood on it. We got to get tore out and removed before we can even start sanding and finishing. I am going to be sanding the stair treads on this job, and we also are going to be sanding and refinishing the entire upstairs. All the vinyl upstairs in those two rooms, pretty easy to remove. It's actually just loose laid and just laying there. So you see a lot of stain marks in existing homes on these older pine floors like this. That's what they had in the middle of the room, and they just kind of finished out around it. It's actually only the second or third time I've ever seen the vinyl still in the home. So it's kind of neat to see that for a change. So starting the tear out process downstairs, you seen I had a pry bar underneath of that vinyl. I had to cut it out of the way because whoever installed the cabinets, they did remove some of the plywood first. I just wish they would have come out past the whole cabinet length. Would have been nice instead of up underneath the toe kick. But I had that pry bar underneath there, so when I was cutting, I don't want to cut anything into the floor that we were sanding and finishing. That would leave some hellacious marks and not be pretty. That termite damage section right there in the wood, pay attention to that because that's going to become another part of the video later. And I'm going to show you on a repair how I did something a little bit different. So just remember that spot. When we have to tear out a lot of material on a job, I usually bring my dump trailer along as well, just because I don't feel like trying to load this in the van. So it's definitely nice to have that on certain jobs, just to back up to the door or wherever, driveway, wherever I can park it, and just throw all the material on there, and I don't have to move it again, short of when I'm unloading it at the dump. So once I got far enough ahead on the tear out process on the vinyl and plywood, then Mom's going behind me. She's actually getting all the staples out of the floor. I'm not sure which part is worse. They honestly both suck. I hate doing tear out. I don't know anybody that enjoys this, especially in the dead of summer, as hot as it is. You'll notice in a second, I just keep getting wetter and wetter and wetter. This room here was a total surprise. The middle of the room is actually yellow pine, and then out around the perimeter is all white oak. Unfortunately, I only have one of those cool pry bars that take all these staples out, so while Mom's still using that in another room, I'm just using a pair of concrete nippers. It's a technical term, but we call them nail pullers to pull the staples out. Now, channel locks work as well, but I honestly prefer those. So there's the yellow pine in the middle of that room, white oak's out around it. We got white oak through here that changes into heart pine on the kitchen area. And nobody told me about this part, so I actually looked at this job last year. We were supposed to do it in January or February. The job got held up with some drywall people that were not doing a very good job. They had to finally get them out of there and get some new people in there. So this job kept getting pushed back and back. And they end up moving some ductwork in here and moving vents around, putting in some extra ones. Problem is, nobody told me about that. So I got extra repairs to do on this job, and I got very limited material. It's not like I can run down the road and just pick up some heart pine that I need. It's kind of tough to come by, and there's only one or two places I can even get it from. But I'm bouncing back and forth between repairs and then start sanding upstairs. Well, Mom actually started first, run the power drive out around the perimeter of the wall. We're going to put the big machine on this job with some 36 grit. Of course, it's got to go upstairs. I break it into two pieces. I'm not interested in killing myself. The motor alone weighs 104 pounds. I can't remember what the machine itself weighs, but overall, I know it is over 200 pounds. So that's what Mom was doing first, just get all the perimeter done. And I'm just going to make one pass real quick with 36 upstairs for her, so then she can proceed over into sanding and she doesn't have to get it all cut flat. This one is in pretty rough shape, especially this room upstairs. So some of the rooms upstairs are yellow pine. This room here is heart pine. The two yellow pine rooms actually didn't look like they had anything on the floor at all. I mean, just so much dirt and everything else almost looked like it was petrified. I've already did a separate video on just that repair, on showing you how to repair a floor that is also the floor upstairs and is the ceiling underneath. So we're not going to get into that. I'm done with my big machine pass upstairs. Vacuum's pretty well full there, so I'm going to go ahead and change the bag on that before Mom starts on her process. Break the big machine down again, get it downstairs, get ready to start sanding down there in a little bit. But I still got to finish up repairs downstairs, and this is the section I wanted you to pay attention to in the beginning of the video, where it had the termite damage. Now these flooring joists are laid 24 inches on center. I am limited on material. I don't have anything long enough to make it to the next joist. So what I actually did was do a semi Dutchman repair and then replace the entire board. Honestly, I'm not sure if I've ever done that on a job, but I thought about it. It's like, hey, this is going to work. This is what we're going to do because this is all I got to work with. And it worked just fine. So that termite board's all the way to the left, barely on the screen, but there's the other sections I've got replaced from the vent that they moved. Now those are H joints, like the letter H, which you do not really want on a new install, especially today. But when you get into these older homes, you don't really have much of a choice because you got spans that are going across 24 inches, 48 inches. You can't break it up but so much. And there's already a ton of them up here in the home, so nobody's even going to know if those sections were even replaced after it's all sanded and finished. But that's what upstairs is kind of turning into. No, I am not puttying this entire floor. You think that putty's going to go in the gaps and the floor is flexing and moving around and going to stay in gaps and cracks? It's going to break out. Only thing we are going to feel on this one is all the staple holes downstairs. There are 2 other products that would work, but they're not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive, and they're not even available in my area. Whenever they do become available in my area, I will be more than happy to make a video and show you the benefits and the negatives on it. But until that happens, I can't do one yet. I did show you a second ago all the dirt and drywall dust and everything else down in the HVAC system. Well, in the ductwork anyway. Half those things aren't even hooked up yet. Only some of them are working. And wouldn't you know it, none of that stuff was from us. We actually go through there and vacuum all that out before we even start sanding. Remember, that house is cleaner when we leave than it is when we get there. We don't make a mess. If we do, we clean it up and you'll never know. And this staircase here has no center stringer on it. Pretty common in the old days. Customers asked me if I'd cut and put one in there. Sure, I can do it. Now I know how to cut these out and everything else brand new. Problem is, when I get into those older ones and everything's out of whack, no step seems to be the same, that's kind of what I'll do. I'll just cut pieces of Luan, glue them together, hang them up there, screw every other one in place or something just to hold it still, glue it together, take it outside, trace it, cut it, glue it, put it up, screw it all in place, and it's done. I don't have a way to really jack up all those bent stair treads, so it's just character. They're going to be there, but it's a lot stronger than what it was. They're not going to squeak or anything anymore. But Mom's already took the power drive and ran across the floor with 36 after I did the 36 grit pass in the big machine just to get the rest of it cleaned up and flattened out, and she ran 60 grit. She stops after that when we do pine, then I go through and I'm going to edge with 60 grit and 100 grit. I'm up here already, so I'm going to switch over to the corner attachment on the edger. I'm going to go around and cut all the corners as well. Once I do those 2 passes upstairs, then I'll go downstairs and edge behind her once she gets far enough along and I can do my part. It did take 4 36 grit belts to do this job. It's only about 1,200 square feet. You can see one of them's cut short. Ran over a staple. It got missed in the floor, so you got to really watch and be careful. Shit happens. But I mean, you can tear a drum up or anything else like that, but these old ones are a pain. But you can see all the 36 grit paper Mom used on the power drive, and it's still gumming up. I did not run any 36 grit paper on this edger on the job. I only used 60 and 100. I can't remember the exact count on the disc, but I want to say it was like 140 something on the 36 and then like 120 on the 60s. After I've got the steps to edge, I want to show you the difference between just trying to use the oscillator tool and sanding the corners on these old ones and how quick it'll gum up the paper just on one corner. So that's when I'm going to make sure my scrapers are sharp. I'm going to go through first, get all that junk and wax and everything else cut off out of the way. Then I can hit it real quick with a 60 grit and just clean it up real quick, fast, and in a hurry. If you don't do that, you're just going to burn through a whole lot of paper and wasted time, where you can just take a scraper and get it off there pretty quick. And I'll run up through there with 60 and back down with 80. That's all I'm going to do on the corners and underneath the nosings and everything. You can still see, get some wax build up on the paper off what little bit was left on there. Again, not a whole lot, so I didn't use as much paper, but that part's done. Getting down to the nitty gritty now. Doing the orbital around the wall, the 100 grit mesh. Mom's going to make her final pass with a 100 grit mesh on the pine. She did run 80 after I finished with 100 grit on the edger upstairs. That's just not in the video, but everything's vacuumed, cleaned up. We're going to start doing our finish. Here's a good way to clean off your roller, whether you're putting finish on the floor or paint on the wall. And some blue tape. Roll that roller across it, get all the loose fibers and lint off the brand new rollers. You don't ever really see me roll floors either. I don't like it. It's slow, and I don't like the texture it leaves on the floor. I was able to T-bar one room upstairs because underneath has drywall. Now, the 2 rooms of yellow pine that I'm rolling, remember, they're the floor upstairs and they're the ceiling downstairs. So if you go pouring big lines across the floor like we do when we're doing a T-bar, any slight gaps or anything in the floor, it can start running or seeping down through there. I learned that the hard way back in the day, and downstairs sounded like it was raining. Needless to say, that one wasn't fun to get straightened out, but we did. But after that first coat's all done, coming back in here, I think actually on a Saturday morning, it took all week till Friday evening till we got the first coat on. Saturday morning, we're doing a second coat everywhere. Coming back in here Monday morning of the second week, finish this job. A couple of these repairs downstairs I did do, they're just not in the video. I wanted to tint those, try to change it, get a little bit closer if I could. Again, brand new white oak going into old white oak. They do not look the same. Trying to find reclaimed white oak, good luck. I probably got a better chance of going in my backyard and drilling for oil and finding that. After everything's abraded, vacuumed up, final coat going down, Loba Duo 2K component and an extra matte sheen. Now, anybody can take a good looking picture of a wet floor. I don't care who you are. The problem is you got to make sure you come back and check it when it's dry. See, that looks good when it's wet, but how's it going to look when it's dry? I know how mine are going to look because I always come back. Looks like another tabletop job to me. And you can look anywhere on my jobs. It does not matter what room, what species. If it's got knots, sapwood, doesn't matter. It's always going to look like that when I'm done. Why? Because I'm not leaving anything in any customer's home that I would not accept in my own home. I am beyond particular. It's really bad. I am OCD with this to a whole new level that I can't even begin to explain. You can just look in the inside of my van and that'll say a lot. And I picked up a lot of new people. I need to do a video just to show you all the van again, but we'll do that another day. Again, this job is not perfect. Definitely has some character and some stains that are not going to come out. And somebody in the last video I made, they want to know why they put the thresholds at the doorways in these old homes. That's why right there, because they literally just run the wood up, they stop and cut it off, they finish that room, they go start another room. So none of that wood ever lines up and there's always a gap there. So that's what they did back in the 17, 18, and early 1900s. They cut wood thresholds and just put it every single doorway. Remember, they tore all these out downstairs because they had the vinyl and everything they put in. But there it is, same thing upstairs. Thresholds at every doorway. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments.